People of Earth, we have come to upgrade your cosmic consciousness. DNA activation ready. In 3, 2, 1.
Hi, welcome to Q&A on Breakthrough Leadership. I'm Lou Quinto.
And I'm Craig Anderson.
Today we're going to take the topic of improving your communication, something we do on a regular basis. We do it verbally, we do it on writing, we're constantly communicating with everyone. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about, as usual, 3 topics. First one is listen more than you talk. The second one is to pay more attention to your nonverbals when you're communicating. And then the last one is follow-up. Making sure that you restate what you heard and you clarify it. So, first one, listen more than you talk.
Yeah.
Stephen Covey said it probably better, okay, but he's not here.
Yeah.
And that was seek first to understand, then to be understood.
Right.
And when communicating, it's important that we hear the other person's perspective. Particularly when we're dealing with someone with an issue or a problem, we need to fully understand what is going on, as opposed to immediately jumping to a conclusion and then really not listening to what they're saying, and we miss a whole bunch of data and information that could really help us get to the root cause of the problem.
Oh yeah, and a lot of times is, don't be sitting there in the middle of the conversation planning your next comment, right? So, if you're in the middle of the conversation, you're listening, but then you're starting to formulate a response before they've finished making their point, you're clearly not listening. I had one person I used to work with, and it was amazing to me that when you'd have these conversations with her, she wouldn't immediately reply. She would think about what you said and then make the response. So you could tell she was really paying very close attention to what you were saying, because she actually took time to think about it in the context of her response. I don't know if you have to go to that strong of a mean, but listening is all about actually listening and paying attention, not trying to figure out rebuttal A, rebuttal B, right? So
I'm sorry, what did you say?
Exactly. Exactly.
And we've all done that,
Yeah.
where someone comes in and, we're good-natured people, we want to help them solve their problems, and we immediately leap to the conclusion, and we don't actually hear what they said.
Yeah.
And active listening, really, to improve active listening, there's one thing that will help out, and that is eye contact.
Yeah.
If my eyes are making contact with your eyes, I can't do other things.
Right.
I can't look at shuffle papers on my desk. I can't look around the room. I'm maintaining my focus on you. And so now, when I say eye contact, I don't mean like staring someone down like a dog in an alley, because then eventually people are like, you're weird, I'm not talking to you anymore.
It does get a little rough if you're doing it too much, but it's a nice setup for paying attention to nonverbals.
Yeah.
Eye contact's a big nonverbal.
Mhm.
Body language. My personal favorite is, it wasn't bad enough that you guys are all looking at your phones when I'm talking to you. Now everybody's got the watch, and it's hard to be engaged in a conversation with somebody who's saying, yeah, okay, yeah.
There's an actual term for that.
No,
It's called phubbing.
I'm not.
Phubbing, phubbing.
I'm not even going to try and say that.
Okay. So next time you look at your phone when I'm talking to you, I'll just say phub you.
Thank you.
Good.
Yeah, great. But I think there's a lot of nonverbal cues. And what I think, if you really want to prove this point, it's when you're on a phone call with somebody and you can't read their body language when you're saying something, and maybe you have to bring up something that's a little bit controversial, a little uncomfortable for you to say, and you kind of put it out there, and you can't see them.
Mm-hmm.
It's maddening, because you don't know, especially if they don't respond right away.
Right.
Did I make them angry? Are they thrilled? Did somebody walk in?
Are they standing there shaking their head at the phone?
Are they phubbing? But it's really difficult. I had a boss who I would go to huge lengths to not have a phone call with him, and instead try and get 5 minutes in person.
Yeah. And then there's the other types of nonverbals that we need to be conscious of when we're sitting in a meeting, particularly. You don't want to sit there, someone's talking to you, they say with your arms crossed, because that gives them the feeling that you're closed off to anything that they're saying. And so you want to avoid that. The other thing, too, is a lot of times you're sitting in a meeting and people may be watching you to see what kind of reaction. As you said, you can't see it on the phone, but in a meeting you can see that reaction. And if your eyebrows go up or you squint your eyes like you're looking at someone like they're crazy, don't say anything. Those nonverbals really start to change the conversation significantly.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, instead, just text your friends around the table with whatever comment it is you've got in your head.
Yeah, I tell the stories that I had the opportunity to do some consulting in the Pacific Rim, and I knew who the most powerful person in the room was. He was sitting at the end of the table, and during the course of the conversation, to me, it looked like he stifled a sneeze. But the minute he did that, everyone head went down, and all conversation stopped. And in my mind, I'm playing back the tape going, what the heck just happened? It looked like everyone's power pack got pulled out at the same time and they just stopped talking. And I realized that the person at the head of the table didn't say anything. Your nonverbal it looked like a stifled sneeze, and I think that was interpreted by a lot of the people as we offended them. And so in our culture, nonverbals don't go that far, but yet they do play a very important part.
Absolutely.
Okay. The last topic we're going to talk about is follow-up by restating and clarifying. Whenever I'm talking to people about communication skills, I always say, restate what you believe you heard the person say, and then if there needs to be clarification, go ahead and do it. And it goes back to the exercise. Okay, so let me see if I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
Well, if you say that enough times, you're going to sound like a used car salesman.
Right.
No offense to used car salesman. Okay, but you can come across as phony. And
Right.
let me see if I understand what you're saying. And so verbally, though, if you say something and I say something, I may have some assumptions in my mind on what you're talking about. But if I didn't clarify that I'm assuming now you mean this, and I just go forward with okay, that's what Craig means, then you and I go in two different directions when we leave the meeting because I made an assumption of something you didn't want to do. And so when you're sitting down with people, always take the time to let me see if I understand what you said now, repeating it, and then if there's any clarification, take care of it then. And the same thing in writing, too. Yeah. At the end of a meeting, always follow up. I want to recap our meeting. This is what my key takeaways. Do you have anything different?
Right, and I think it's important to, depending on the stakes of the discussion, too. I mean, if it's, where are we going to go lunch, you probably don't have to go too deep.
So let me see if I understand.
Yeah, if I understand correctly, you don't really want a sandwich, but you don't really want pizza. But I think when you're getting into higher stakes conversations and big decisions and big debates around things at the table, I think it's really important that you make sure that you're on the same page with that person before you either A, agree, or B, disagree with their point. Make sure you understand what it is they want to talk about. And you say, hey, let me think I got this right. If I got this right, you said X, Y, Z. Mm-hmm. I think it's really important in those high stakes conversations. In lower stakes too, but probably not to the same degree. And there's certainly varying ways you can do it. You don't want to say after every comment, as I think you said was, but there's ways. So you want to do this. Here's my question about that, right? Make sure you get those in there, because especially, as you said, some of these meetings are pretty important meetings. You want to make sure you're not walking out of the room thinking you agreed on something that is completely off base.
Yeah, and the same thing too, is you're in these meetings and you have people from different departments doing different things. They may say something and mean one thing, and you may take it again. You make that assumption and you take it another way. And so when you've got people who are different disciplines, you need to stop and say, okay, let's clarify what we just discussed and where we're going from here. And so that this way you can recognize any assumptions that were made and dispel them immediately. Or get confirmation that, yes, my assumption was correct before moving forward. So, all right, so key takeaways: improving communication, something we all can do. I think you and I have experienced it both in our business and personal lives. Improving communication can be better for both of us. Yes, and thank you for looking at your watch while we're improving communications. Some of the key takeaways, again, it's going back to the basics. Listen more than you talk. Make sure that you restate and clarify, and pay attention to what's going on here. Facial expressions, body language, the way you're sitting in a meeting and you're sitting back and you look like you've taken out a KOA pass and you're just relaxing. I'm going to get the impression that you're not interested in what I'm talking about. And so improving that communication, it all goes back to put everything together, wrap the package up where you've got the good eye contact, because we communicate with everybody, and the better our communications, the less things we do wrong. And we don't have to do a lot of rework to fix them.
Yeah, I think it's, my two big takeaways are flubbing, which I didn't know was a thing and now I do. But I also think it's just that importance of not talking past each other, right? There's so much. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's so much communication that goes, through from, business communication, social media and everything else, but you're not taking the time to actually hear the person and really make sure you just want to, if you think you're just so brilliant, you want to jump right to your great point, you're not paying attention to the conversation. And if you want to be successful as a leader or even as a performer in any organization, listening is a key part of that.
Well, if you think back to, when you ask people about other people that you're working with, and usually one of the things, he's a good listener. Or she's a good listener. Listening really is a characteristics, it's a competency that people recognize.
Absolutely.
And so even if you have to do like I do sometimes, just bite your tongue and, in your mind go, shut up and listen, Lou, shut up and listen. You practice, do what you need to do that.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, we hope you enjoyed today's episode on Q&A on Breakthrough Leadership when talking about improving your communication skills. If you've liked today's video, please click on the like button below. Subscribe to Q&A on Breakthrough Leadership so that you can know when the next podcast is going to be.
And if you would, sorry, we're still working on
You
our
weren't
line.
listening.
I wasn't. I was coming up with my very clever line. So there's your lesson for today. But do share it with people that you think would benefit from it, or passively aggressively send it out to your entire organization.
Thanks again for joining us on Q&A on Breakthrough Leadership. I'm Lou Quinto.
And I'm Craig Anderson.
Thanks for watching.